Well, I came down, I bought the farmhouse up on Camp Daggett Road because I didn't want to be in the city, I didn't want to be anywhere. And I was dating a girl, Sharon O'Brien. Her dad lives down on, I think he's a member of the country club, Fran O'Brien. And we used to go out on their little deck boat. And we saw all these sailboats over at Michigania, and they were wood, and they had the fleet of wooden 17s at the time. And I said, oh my Lord, I've never seen anything like that. What would it take to get one of those? And Ada O'Brien, Fran's wife, said that those are all owned in families, and they're passed down. They're, legacy boats. They're handed down from generation to generation. You'll never own one of those. And so I was looking in the Petoskey News Review one night, and there was a boat, a Walloon 17 for sale down at Masters Marina. And a friend of mine who was getting divorced needed to sell the boat. And so I went down and looked at it. It was sunk in the water, so I didn't really get a good look at it, but they were swelling the boat at the time. And I said, yeah, I'll buy it. How much do you want? $350. So sure, I'll buy it. Floated it, had it brought down to the marina. Harrington's, John Harrington was a good friend of mine, Mike Harrington, a good friend. So I remember I said, yeah, I can do this. I'm cocky. And I backed her out and hoisted the sails and went out, and the squall came over off Lake Michigan and caught her, and I had more than I could handle. I was dumping every bit of wind out of those sails, and I was shaking like a goat with soup cans. And I brought her over into Camp Daggett. I put a bow line on it. I dropped the sails. I got in the water, and I walked it back to Harrington's Marina. Tied it up and said, Harry, put a for sale sign on that thing. I don't ever want to get on that again. And he said, give it time. So I went down a little while later on a much nicer day and really enjoyed sailing it, and it became a labor of love, just every year taking it down and varnishing it. And Jen, the Tomlinson family had number 23, which was stored down here. And he approached me and said, we have one of these, and we can't take care of it anymore. Would you like it? And I said, sure. Why not? And that was like $250, $300 or whatever. I said, oh, good Lord. And then Wayne at the marina was saying, now you got two of them here. What, are you going to build a fleet? And I said, it's not a bad idea. And Mrs. Saint then had number 4, which was the first mahogany one. And I came down to see her, and she said, we can't take care of the boat anymore. And so it became a song and dance type of thing. Yeah, there's a sucker on the lake that'll take care of the wooden boats, if you want it back on the water. So we were lucky enough that at one time we had the 3. We had number 4, number 23, and number 18, which is the first one after World War II. Number 4 was the first mahogany boat ever built. And then, of course, there was number 23, which was one of the last ones, and had the wooden deck. So, yeah, that we accumulated and just sailed. And I loved going up and down the West Arm and having the older people come out and do this. They loved seeing the old boats sailing together. And there was one day when who had it? The guys, remember we had 5 or 6 of the wooden boats on a downwind run. And somebody came up behind us and took a picture. And I have it. It's all these wooden 17s going down the West Arm. It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. It's a work of art that needs to be preserved. And when we found number 1, it was like the circle became complete for me, because we got it back to Walloon. I said, I can rest. you know. So it's in somebody else's hands now to take care of.
So somebody else's. Oh, would that be Patrick?
I'd be himself.
Yeah, right, exactly. My problem now. Well, number one is in good hands with Mark. It's going to be a.
I'm
very
glad
good
Mark
fit.
Love has number one. Yes. But I mean, he has learned the lake well. If there was one thing I wanted to teach my son was sailing and music, and he's done both very well. He was out on the trapeze one time, and we had number 18 coming down the West Arm, and we were going to shoot the Narrows, and he was out on the trapeze, and I'm back on the tiller. And
We have his version. We'll do his version of the story first, and then mine. Yeah.
cocky Irishman, of course, sitting back there. You can't tell me anything, and I know this lake. And Patrick says, "You're not going to make it, Dad." And I said, "Pat, I sail this lake. I know this lake. I know every wind on this lake, especially the West Arm. I've got this." And he kept saying, "Dad, you're not going to make it." And I kept saying, "Pat,